Micro, for the show specifically, we might all have to, privately, not publicly, give Coach an apology or buy him lunch or something.
For what?
We could do that publicly.
Because we were
Doesn't have to be private.
we were all paying lip service to the idea that Brian Schottenheimer might have been a good hire. Because
Can I?
What?
Me and Brew were never
we didn't
on that corner.
Yeah, we were
that
just
was
like,
a
hey,
Nick
we'll
Wright
see. Maybe it's
exclusive.
good.
Yeah, we don't know.
You have to buy lunch.
Don't drag us into your
we were
calamity.
never even talking about him.
All right, so I might have to apologize to Coach because I thought the hire made no sense, and I was tried to be kind because he's Coach's guy. I'm like, this makes this a disaster. And through 2 games, and if we're talking about an offensive explosion, he seems innovative, and the offense seems more I know they scored a bunch of points with Mike McCarthy a couple of years ago, but the offense does seem more dynamic without as many weapons as the Cowboys under McCarthy had. They had better offense. They had a Hall of Fame offensive linemen. They had a better running game a couple of years ago. So I think that's on the micro. On the macro, I will have to start when I'm doing my weekly. All right, what do I think at this moment the playoff field could be or would be is start to include the Cowboys because, and this to his credit was Danny's point before the year, if you have a great offense, you're in the mix, no matter what your defense looks like. And the Cowboys thus far are proving that exact point. The great offense, even with the defense that's been really bad, has kept them in the mix.
Look, I agree they would be in the playoff mix. And when you look at some of the teams that aren't quite as good as we expected, Washington might, have a tough year. Obviously, Minnesota and Chicago. They'll be in the mix, but I don't think they prove anything this weekend by beating Chicago. I don't care if they beat them 45-24. Like, they can't – they're supposed to do that against these Bears. J.J. McCarthy looked all world in the fourth quarter, and then Russell Wilson – who hasn't looked good in
that was against Cowboys. It was Jared Goff.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Jared Goff looked fantastic, and he's obviously a good quarterback. But after the way he struggled in Week 1,
passer rating was 156.
Yeah, so if that goes out, it'll be a great win. Don't get me wrong. But him going out there throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns, close to 300 yards, will be like, okay, great win. We are putting ourselves in the playoff mix. We got a great chance to start 4-2. Or maybe better, but they got Green Bay next week. You got momentum going into that. But, Coach, I expect them, like, seeing what Chicago's defenses look like, I expect this good offense to have its way with the Bears.
Yeah, so the numbers are pretty bleak for Chicago right now. 32nd in points, 30th in sacks, 28th in total yards, 27th in rushing, 22nd in passing defensively. And then when I went and looked and I said, okay, well, do they bring a lot of pressure? They're dead last in the amount of pressure they bring. So here's one thing Chicago would do: blitz more. They're.
It's surprising a Dennis Allen defense has been this passive.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be much more. The numbers would be much more aggressive than they were. And if you're not if you're not having production, at some point, you don't want to die by 1,000 paper cuts. You might as well go take some chances and try to create some negative plays. The thing that could be learned here is if Dallas's offense doesn't have an explosive game, I think that's problematic.
Yes.
And then the flip side of that is if Dallas's defense has another bad performance, that could also be a huge concern. So it's more about Dallas not performing those 2 areas as opposed to, going and performing really well.
Yeah, that's a pretty good nuanced take. I appreciate that. I mean, seriously, beating the Bears and having an offensive explosion would prove exactly nothing to me for the Dallas Cowboys, because I expect them to be able to do that against a Chicago Bears team that is clearly struggling and doesn't look very good. And that was that continues to be the common thread that I've said with the Dallas Cowboys going into this season, that I expect them to still be able to absolutely beat up on the bad teams, because that is what they've been able to consistently do ever since Dak Prescott has been the starting quarterback. And now they have great weapons. I don't know what Nick is talking about right now. Like, this is the most complete passing offense that Dak has been able to work with in forever, quite frankly. So I expect them to be able to do that. And I know many Dallas Cowboys fans believe that Dak Prescott is better than Jared Goff, and Jared Goff was absolutely able to just cook. And listen, you can say, yeah, but he's got a great team, and it's just like, well, first off, their O-line is not as good as it's been in years past. Their coaching staff isn't as good as it was years past. And again, you either believe CD Lamb and Pickens are great, and do you think they're better than Amon-Ra St. Brown and stuff? So it's just like you tell me that, right? Like, you either think your team is great or you don't. Like, it is always funny to have certain teams be like, we're a great team, and then it's like, okay, well then do what this other team did, and it's like, yeah, well that team has this and this, and it's like, okay, well then, so that means you're not as good as them then? Like, are you saying that you're not as good as the Lions then? Like, I don't, what point are you trying to make here? So I think just when you look at JJ McCarthy with Justin Jefferson, what they were able to do, like, right, that fourth quarter was just an eruption. Obviously, I expect an experienced, seasoned veteran Dak Prescott to feel very, very, very comfortable against this Chicago Bears offense. And if they don't, that's way more concerning than them having an offensive explosion. And that is where I would then look to a defense and be like, man, how comfortable did you just have Caleb look? Because Caleb has about like a couple drives a game where you're like, all right, that's pretty good, looking good. All right, I'm seeing the growth, I'm seeing the progress. But then repeatedly throughout the game, you're like, this is not, no, this is what, nah, yikes. And you want to be able to see that. You want to be able to see the Dallas Cowboys be able to deliver on that trend that Caleb Williams has been doing these last couple of weeks since the start of the season. But I mean, just strictly offensively, no way. I mean, it's just, they'll do exactly what I thought that they could do. If anything, it's more impressive to me, because also even the game against the Giants is not impressive to me. It's really just that week 1 game against the Eagles and how comfortable that offense looked against an Eagles defense, which is pretty good. It's always tough because it's week 1, so everyone's kind of getting their legs underneath them. But if anything, I'd be way more impressed if they hang 55 points against this Chicago Bears team. That doesn't impress me. Them being in a position to beat the Philadelphia Eagles week 1, and especially because of offense, that impresses me. That makes it way more impressive to me than anything else. And I won't just chalk that up to be like, well, it was a divisional game, blah, 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 week 1. It's just like, no, like there was still a lot to like there. So I just thought that this offense always had too much going for it to not be really successful. The question mark for me was the defense, but I actually believe in Eberflus defensively. But so far, you could either just say that they just don't have the manpower there, or you can blame Eberflus. But I think it's probably, if anything, more closer to a roster issue, as going into the season thinking you have Micah Parsons and then no longer having Micah Parsons. That's going to affect you defensively. You don't just magically overcome that. You don't go into the season knowing that you have a Micah Parsons level player, build a team in this way, and then just now remove Micah Parsons and just think, oh, we got good enough guys here. Like, no, if you did, then you would have one of the deepest, most threatening defenses, no matter who your coach is at that point. And so that's just makes it a lot trickier here. But the offense is clearly more than capable of carrying the weight, but eventually you do need the defense to kind of get the job done. Otherwise, just ask Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals of last year. But not every game always has to prove something, and it's okay. It's okay. Not every game, not every big moment. When the Detroit Lions, absolutely crushed, I think it was the Panthers or the Jags or both. It was just like big win, and it was like, that means nothing to me. You just absolutely dominated two of the worst teams in the NFL right now. And Lions fans were like, what are you talking about? It was an amazing win. And it's like, we just hung 55 points and this. And it's just like, who cares? Seriously. I mean, like, it's fun and exciting and you can get behind it, and it's like, all right, let's go. But it's just like, like, I don't know. Like, it's just, you have to really try to find the things that you like about a win like that. And to be fair, to be clear, the Dallas Cowboys do need to clarify and define who they are as a team a lot more than, say, the Detroit Lions needed to do at that time. Because at that point, the Detroit Lions were pretty rooted in being a top team in the NFL, whereas the Dallas Cowboys are in the process of proving whether they are or they aren't. But I'll tell you what I've been most impressed about with Schottenheimer, and it's not the offensive scheming or this or that or the fact that they're able to win some games and 30 points per game. It's actually not that, because, again, I expected them to have a lot of offensive success with the roster itself. It was actually the moment when he was going through all like the field goals and he had everyone like yelling, and they were I don't even know what they were yelling or what noise they were making. You see Jerry Jones there standing there like awkwardly like trying to do it, and he's like doing it like a full second later than everyone else. Like it was just how energetic, how connected that locker room was, and how intense they all were. Like that is a team that is behind their coach. That is a team that is feeling good. That is a team that is behind each other, behind their players. Like that is a team that now I believe can face adversity, can go through the obstacles that a regular season can bring, like a tough random loss against a Chicago Bears team that nobody thinks is that good, right? Like once upon a time I would have said, I don't know if they can get through that. It feels kind of messy, and but then you get rid of Micah and you got Jerry Jones, and it's like, oh, you got a new head coach in Schottenheimer, and like Dak coming off an injury. You're bringing in another wide receiver who is also known to have some problems, and I'm just like, I don't know. But when I saw that moment, when I saw the intensity, when I saw the uniformity of everyone, and I saw how engaged everyone, I was like, okay, that is definitely someone who's controlling that locker room. That is definitely someone who is imprinting a culture there. But to be fair, it's a lot easier to do that when you win, and you really earn your stripes when you're losing, when things get rough, when, like I said, when you do lose a game and that you absolutely positively should not have lost, right? And so, like, in a weird way, it's like losing against the Bears actually could make a team like this even stronger and more resilient. But obviously, you rather not learn that lesson right now in week 3. So, yeah, because right now it's like the Chicago Bears aren't feeling that level of connection, and I guarantee you if they ended up winning 2 games, they would all be really excited and connected and feeling good and dancing. And the Minnesota Vikings had a whole dance session for JJ McCarthy, and we're screaming and we're cheering and we're like, let's go, we got after it. And then the next game it was like, oh, let's try to put this kid off to the side. And Carson, yeah, you buddy, come here, need you. So it's just, it's the ups and downs of a season, but I still liked a lot what I saw there, even in the wins. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Dallas Cowboys? What would a Cowboys offensive explosion prove? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you a part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.